This is the weekly energy reading for April 26th through May 2nd, guided by the I Ching and the Tao Te Ching. Some weeks ask you to build. Others ask you to walk through what cannot yet be claimed. Last week taught what can truly endure. This week asks how to move when the ground matters, but does not belong to you. Last Sunday opened with Hexagram 32, duration, changing at line 5 to Hexagram 28, preponderance of the great. What unfolded through the week made that reading very clear. Something unstable gave way first. Then consistency returned. Conflict revealed what could not continue as it had. Disengagement created space. Stillness followed. That stillness was not passive. It allowed pressure to become visible. Once the weight could be seen clearly, correction became possible. Energy restored. Reduction followed. Then clarity. The week moved like a full healing sequence. The light returned. The false fell away. The self corrected. The source replenished. The higher self led. Then the sun rose. That is the architecture of sustainable progress. The week proved that endurance is not about carrying more. It is about releasing enough strain for what is true to continue cleanly. Duration showed what could last. Preponderance of the great showed what became too heavy. By the end of the week, the message was clear. Real progress does not come from forcing. It comes from clearing enough distortion that the path can open on its own. That is the ground we step from now. Because once strain has been reduced and clarity restored, the next question is no longer what can be sustained. The next question is how to move through what matters without trying to possess it. That is the threshold this week opens. This week opens with Hexagram 56, the Wanderer, with no changing lines. Fire over mountain. Fire does not settle permanently on the mountain. It passes over it. It illuminates. It can be seen from far away, but it does not root there. This is the structure of the reading. The Wanderer is not a hexagram of possession. It is a hexagram of passage. It describes a time when you are moving through conditions that matter, but do not fully belong to you. The ground is real. The experience is real. The lessons are real. But the reading asks you to hold all of it lightly. Hexagram 56 often appears when the soul is between fixed states. You are not nowhere, but you are not entirely at home either. There may be movement, visibility, contact, even opportunity. But none of that means the moment is meant to become permanent simply because it is meaningful. That is why conduct matters so much in this hexagram. The Wanderer does not thrive by claiming. It thrives by moving correctly, with attentiveness, with humility, with proportion. This is not weak energy. It is disciplined energy in unfamiliar terrain. The trigrams deepen that further. Mountain gives stillness, boundaries, and containment. Fire gives brightness, visibility, and temporary illumination. Together they describe something seen clearly, but not meant to be grasped. Presence without possession. Visibility without permanence. When the Wanderer forgets this, trouble begins. Too much self-assertion creates friction. Too much comfort creates carelessness. Too much identification creates instability. Because what is temporary cannot be handled as if it is already secured. That is the deeper discipline of the week. Be present, but do not overclaim. Participate, but do not possess. Move, but do not sprawl. When Hexagram 56 appears with no changing lines, the condition itself is the teaching. There is no immediate correction through transformation. The wisdom lies in inhabiting the state cleanly. That means accepting that some seasons are transitional by nature. Some spaces are for learning, not settling. Some connections are for guidance, not ownership. Some opportunities are real, but still provisional. The Wanderer asks for good conduct in all of these. Carry yourself well. Keep your inner order. Do not create unnecessary conflict. Do not let insecurity make you grasp. If you remain correct, the journey becomes meaningful. If you try to turn passage into possession, the path becomes strained. Nothing here says the week is empty. In fact, it may be full. but fullness does not equal permanence. The Wanderer reminds you that meaning and transience can exist together. Something can matter deeply and still not be yours to keep. So the question this week is not how to make the path permanent, it is how to walk it well, with restraint, with awareness, with respect for the fact that temporary ground still deserves right conduct. The deeper reflection for this week comes from chapter 53 of the Tao Te Ching. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the side paths. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered within the Tao. When rich speculators prosper, while farmers lose their land. When government officials spend money on weapons instead of cures. When the upper class is extravagant and irresponsible, while the poor have nowhere to turn. All this is robbery and chaos. It is not in keeping with the Tao. This chapter is direct. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the side paths. That is why it fits Hexagram 56 so well. The Wanderer is not only about movement, it is about conduct while moving through a world that can easily pull you off center. When you are not on home ground, side paths become tempting. You can try to secure what is temporary. You can try to make yourself belong through performance. You can start adjusting yourself to unstable conditions instead of staying rooted in what is true. Chapter 53 warns against that drift. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered within the Tao. That may be the heart of the week. Because Hexagram 56 does not ask you to dominate the terrain, it asks you to move through it correctly. The Wanderer must know the difference between participation and entanglement. You can walk through unfamiliar ground without losing yourself in it. You can be visible without over-identifying with what is visible. You can receive what the journey offers without mistaking it for permanent ground. That is the discipline here. Chapter 53 also widens the lens. It reminds us that imbalance is not abstract. It shows up in the way energy is distributed, in the way power is used, and in the way people lose contact with what is essential. That matters for this reading, because when the field is out of balance, the temptation is to adapt to the imbalance instead of remaining centered. The side paths look easier, more flattering, more secure, but they take you away from the way. The Wanderer's wisdom is simpler than that. Stay correct. Stay modest. Stay aware of what is not yours to claim. Do not let disorder teach you disorder. Do not let instability teach you grasping. The right path may feel quieter, less dramatic, less rewarded in the short term, but it keeps you in relationship with what is real. This week does not ask you to find permanent footing where permanence is not yet available. It asks you to remain centered while passing through. That is how temporary ground becomes meaningful instead of destabilizing. That is how you avoid the side paths.